Congratulations on reaching this pillar. Today we're going to be talking about note-taking strategies, and the teaching point is effective writers use sophisticated note-taking strategies in order to digest content rather than simply recite content. Now, your goal for note-taking should be to grow your thinking about your topic. You should be trying to get as many different perspectives into your notes, and you should be looking to answer questions and possibly build theories. Now, whichever system you use, it's up to you. Do a quick turn and talk with your partner. What systems do you normally use when you're taking notes? By now, you should have selected your research topic, and I'll give you some tips of how to go into the note-taking stage of your research. So, with your topic in mind, you may consider some or one of these following approaches of how to take notes. Now, one of the simplest and the most basic one is the mapping strategy. You probably learned this in elementary school of the boxes and bullets, where you're coming out with a question, you're coming out with an idea, and you're looking for support for that idea. How does this work? And then you're looking for 3 ideas and answer that question. What are the advantages? Well, 3 ideas to answer that question. We've all been exposed to Cornell notes, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail explaining about Cornell notes again, but the whole idea is that you are taking notes in the right column as you interact with the research or interact with a video. You cover that right centered section of your piece, and then you summarize the main ideas or the key points you got from that centerpiece in the left column, remembering you having that summarized. And when you cover that section, what's happening is you're processing the information and you're doing some bullet points, some definitions, some ideas in the left column. And then with the right column still covered, you just use those bullet points to build summaries. And this is another way for the information to process into your mind. We have used in the past this excellent strategy to get you to interact with the text at a much deeper level. Remember when we studied the head and heart approach. And this is simply interacting with the text and finding things that surprise you. And then thinking, well, why am I surprised? What is it that you already know about the topic? And often you would establish this as a warrant. Now, you go into most topics with prior knowledge. What may, as you're reading, what's challenging what you already know? What's changing what you already know? What might be confirming what you already know about a topic? Another way is to take the topic to heart. How does the text make you feel? Put some of the emotions down. How will what you do, say, or act be different because of what you've interacted or because of what you've read inside the text? So using the head and heart to interact with text at this first level of primary research really gets you to process the things that you have been reading. One technique that's for those people who are more artistically inclined is the visual note-taking. Visual note-taking is not the same as just collecting and drawing pictures. There's a specific strategy that you are supposed to be applying. I'm going to play about 1.5 minutes of this video so you can hear some of the characteristics of visual note-taking.
It's writing while making use of one's knowledge in hierarchy and distinction. This means that when you write or doodle the words, you highlight the more important terms, so it'll be easier for you to identify the main point from the supporting details. Text can also be used as a form of visual mnemonics, which is the treatment of words as images. Think of it this way: a picture is worth 1,000 words, and if you can save up on ink and paper by drawing just one doodle instead of writing a 5-paragraph description, then why not stick to visual note-taking?
Visual note-taking is fun, but you have to make it meaningful. And we need to take a moment to turn and talk with your partner. Imagine these were the notes that a friend had collected. What could you say about this topic based on the notes that you've seen? I'm going to pause the video for a few seconds. Now take a moment and discuss with your partner what this person could have done to make the ideas a little bit clearer with this form of visual note-taking. I'm going to give you some tips here of things to apply to all of your different notes. Number one, collect the source. It's very, very important that you collect where you're getting your notes from, so when you have to do your works cited at the end, that you know exactly where that came from. Number two, watch out for the non-fiction craft moves. And by that I'm meaning principles of authority, testimonial evidence. If you see a quote, if you see somebody's name, that's a time to stop and make a note of that, because you're pretty sure that that will be a perspective or something that you could interact with later. Definitely collect your domain-specific language, because those are the key terms that's going to make you sound like an expert on the topic. And finally, look for those anecdotal pieces of evidence, those small little stories that you could bring into your final pieces. Another thing, don't forget data and statistics. There's two sides to the data. When you see some statistics, don't forget to interact with those statistics. And the third point is collecting the opinions of many different stakeholders. If your source investigates one stakeholder, think about, well, who are the other perspectives that have not yet been presented in the research? So you should be able to go across a wide variety of credible sources and coming across a wide variety of different stakeholders to make sure that you've got deep, meaningful research across your topic. Many of you are going to be faced with large chunks of text for your note taking. It's not just going to be data, it's not just going to be statistics. So my tip for you is to follow these strategies to summarize effectively. Step one is to make sure that you're collecting the title or where the information came from. Don't forget to get your source. Once you've got down your source, you'll read a section at a time, and you're looking to try to summarize that section in a word or a phrase. So after I've read this piece of text, I've thought I could summarize it for tools for learning because I looked at the title, but it's really not about tools for learning. I summarize it about, well, it's really about embracing cell phone usage. Now, once I've summarized it in a word or a phrase, I'm going to go to step two and write that word or phrase as an arguable opinion. School can use cell phones to benefit their students. Once I've written it as an arguable opinion, I'm going to look for some support in that text for my arguable opinion. So I'm finding at least two ideas to support it. So one of the ideas that I saw in there was student response systems, is ways schools can benefit their students with cell phones. Another way is the teachers facilitating their use in class through giving notice in advance or encouraging kids to share. So that's two ways that embracing cell phone usage can actually benefit students. Once I've done that, I'm going to start thinking about, well, what does this content mean to me? And I'm going to use my challenge, change, confirm, surprise, feel, act, do. And as I think about that, well, phones do have a place in the classroom to aid learning if their use is monitored. It did challenge what I'd read before, because some policies are made to be fought against. It's like, well, a lot of schools don't want, especially my own school, doesn't want people to use phones in the classroom. I'm wondering what another group of stakeholders might think. What would parents say about the use of phones in the classroom? So notice here, I'm doing this on one single paragraph. And you imagine when you're interacting with your sources, you've got 5, 6, 7, 10 paragraphs. This shows that you're processing information and not just copying down information. Let's practice interacting with our notes, shall we? Take a moment to look at this slide. I'm going to pause the video in a few seconds. You've read this quote. 45% of high school age boys reported that they feel embarrassed by their bodies in an anonymous survey. Turn and talk. Interact with this information. What does it make you think about? You can use some of the blue text as prompts for ideas. Okay, to close this section, have a quick conversation with your partner. What of the different strategies are you going to use to collect your notes? And what are you going to remember what to do as you are collecting your notes? You are now headed to a pillar of learning. You have just listened to the video. What we love about our pillar of learnings is that we get to choose which way we want to practice the activity. After you finish your learning activity and you finish whichever one you choose, and you only have to do one of them, you can prepare yourself for the formative or sometimes a summative, and then you will meet with your teacher to conference. I'll be back soon.